I'm April. I own my own Pilates studio. I found Antonio and Michelle on my second pregnancy. My first pregnancy, I found out about like 30 weeks that my son was breech, and I started seeing a chiropractor then. All my ligaments were really tight. Being in Pilates for so many years, my core was really tight and things weren't relaxing quite enough. And unfortunately, it was so late in the game, my baby stayed breech. So when I found out I was pregnant again, I really didn't want to have another C-section. So my doula recommended Live Loud, and I was super, super grateful. You guys held my hand through the entire experience. And I didn't have, at one point, my second little boy, he did flip breech. And you know, when you go to doctor's appointments, they're quick, you know, the doctors try, but it's a lot, and it's emotional being pregnant in general. So I was stressing out because my goal was to have a VBAC. So I didn't want to have another C-section, especially having two kids that would like to be picked up and cuddled. So when I was seeing Michelle, I would come in every week once the baby flipped breech, and she was the only thing that made me feel sane at any point. The only thing that made me breathe easy, and she worked with me every week. I think there's a couple weeks I came in twice, probably for my mental health, not necessarily even for an adjustment, and she worked with me, and he flipped back on his own. I went to an appointment, I feel like he flipped around like 30 weeks too, and I think I went in at like 34, 35, and the baby was so low. My OB wasn't sure. She did a quick like in-office little sonogram, and he flipped and he was head down, and I was able to have a successful VBAC, and I feel like Live Loud was a very, very crucial part of that journey, so I'm grateful. You know, I was experiencing a lot of weird back pain, and I think, you know, she was talking to me about posturing, and I'm sitting with one of these right now. Oh, I can't take it off. There's this really cool, like, balloony type pillow that I had to drive with. It really took some pain out of, like, my legs and my lower back. Just, you know, when you're pregnant, everything just is way too loose, and it took a lot of pressure and pain that I was having in my lower back, which was really nice. You know, in the second pregnancy, you're busier, so my husband couldn't come to every appointment, but I would come home from the OB, and she was a great doctor, but it's just a different, like, clinical type experience, and it's more of just like addressing those medical bits where, you know, I would come in here and it's a whole body experience, you know, where Michelle's, you know, checking in with, you know, where is your mind at? Where are you at in pregnancy? Explaining to me different things that were happening to my body and why I might be experiencing something in different ways to kind of help counteract that. And it's a lot of mental toughness. And you don't get that going to the doctor. Like, they try, but it's not the same. And so it was really nice. And my husband could tell. He was like, you are a different person when you come back from your OB appointments versus when you come back from the chiropractor. So, and I think sometimes people just think like going to the chiropractor, we're just gonna like pop some bones and you're in and out of here. And I'm like, no, it's like a full body massage. I get a little therapy session. It's a whole thing. So I try to explain that to everybody, but I feel like sometimes you don't really know until you come in and check it out. So yeah, I think any woman who's gone through childbirth knows, like, when you are in the thick of it, it's a mental game. Whether your mind has decided to join you there or you're having an out-of-body experience, you're like, it is a mental toughness game. And so you have to go in with like a whole plan. And with my first pregnancy, I had a plan, and it was pretty devastating when we didn't get to do any of those pieces. And so I wanted it so bad to have that VBAC. So it was really nice to be supported, you know, by my doula, by you guys here at Live Loud, you know, my husband cheering me on. And, you know, when you're in the moment of like childbirth and it's happening, you know, you have to block out every negative piece of, you know, society, medical advice, because everyone's worried your scar is going to rupture, or that you're going to end up in another emergency C-section, or you're making this bad choice when you're doing something that's very natural and what your body was meant to do. So it's really nice to surround yourself with people who know that, who've experienced them themselves, who've helped other people do that, to give you that confidence, because you're put in a situation where you're having to make very tough decisions when you're in a lot of physical pain. So to go in there of like, you know, you've kind of practiced through that the whole time. So it's invaluable. Absolutely. I really love all the little videos that Nichelle put out. It was, you guys had a baby not shortly after I had my second, and so it was kind of fun to watch, her stories about different ways to breastfeed. So I'm in a position where I could be resting, but not necessarily like hunched over, and I could be like in a relaxing resting position. So I enjoyed that. I had a more thorough body exam, like muscle-wise here, than I did with my doctor. Obviously, being a Pilates instructor, I'm like, how's my abs looking? How's it, like, how, that's important for your pelvic floor recovery. And, Nichelle really spent time, working through my abs and like looking for any diastasis that I had. I have a little extra separation, I feel like, around my belly button. She's like, that's just your belly button, you need to calm down. And I'm like, okay. But it was nice to have someone I know really, really knows that muscular makeup well. So I could trust what she was saying, to know what my recovery was gonna look like and what that road is. And she also puts really cool videos out about different ways you should be picking up your baby and different exercises to do. And pelvic floor therapy is huge, but it can be super simple. And she has super awesome videos that she puts out and she shares. You guys have your library, but she puts a lot of stuff out on social media. And so I was very lucky that she was on a postpartum journey the same time I was. So I was doing lots of that stuff at home in between visits. So it was nice. And then, after pregnancy, coming in, it just feels so good because you can't help it. You're like this all the time. You're holding your baby, you're not sleeping. To come in and get adjusted and just feel like a little bit longer, a little bit taller, walking out the door so you can go back to doing it all again. It's great. Yeah, I think sometimes just seeing other moms do things that you have to do and knowing that you're not in it alone is huge. She wanted to hear all about your birth story, which is so nice. What mom doesn't want to tell their birth story? That's lovely. But she also, she shares a lot about what her journey looks like, and she has 4 kids, and that's crazy in the best way possible. But it's a lot of juggling. And so to come in for an appointment and see Antonio come in to drop off the baby so she could nurse him in between appointments because she was a breastfeeding mama whose baby didn't want to take a bottle. And I'm like, mine won't take bottles. I'm normal. I'm not doing it wrong. Like, that's huge to be able to, authentically share those experiences with somebody, because when you realize you're like, their life is just as crazy, but it's really cool to see you guys work together and you're doing it all. And, it just really made me feel like I'm human and this is normal. And if they're okay with 4, I'm gonna be okay with 2. So it was a nice parallel. I think when you become pregnant and you're on this journey, there's so much noise out there. So where you get your information can vastly affect the experience that you have when you give birth. And I hear so many stories about women who end up in the delivery room and maybe they had a plan or they didn't have a plan, but the ending is definitely not what they wanted it to be, even if they get to have a vaginal birth versus a C-section, just a lot of things that like trickle down to some experiences. And then they leave the situation with trauma that they weren't expecting to have whatsoever. I feel like knowledge is power. So if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, then you sometimes do end up down a path in the delivery room that you wouldn't like to be in. So I knew that I wanted to have a different experience, and so I'm grateful. So I am biased to say yes, you should absolutely go for that extra care, because there's so many amazing things that we don't realize that our bodies are naturally capable of. And I feel like everyone here at Live Loud is really knowledgeable about stuff like that. And so it's nice to have a non-clinical, which is so funny because you guys are in the medical industry, but it doesn't feel clinical when you're here and you support the natural aspects about what our human body is capable of all on its own. And I think that's so awesome and it's so powerful. So then you walk in knowing, okay, I know that I can do this. My body was made to do this. All these other women coming in and out of this office are doing this. Maybe I can too. And you're probably gonna end up with a happier, healthier experience in general of having more care and more providers giving you more knowledge than not having it. postpartum where I was one of those people that were like, oh, I wish I would have already been seeing the chiropractor. I wish somebody would have told me it's okay to have different types of workouts, because I think we're part of a society now that's like, oh, pregnant women can do everything. And we can, but it was also probably would have been helpful for me and my personal body type to calm down and chill out on some of those workouts, because my body needed that time to relax to make it the best home that it needed to be for my baby. And had I been already seeking the proper types of medical care, somebody would have told me that. So I knew right away on that second one, I need to be in this journey on it. But also, since I started having the chiropractic care, as things came up in my pregnancy, I didn't feel panicked because I knew I already had a team of people to help me through those moments on my pregnancy journey, which was awesome. And then on that postpartum piece of it, you know, being a Pilates instructor, I see so many women with pelvic floor issues, or people going in because they're years postpartum and they're still peeing themselves when they're laughing. And you hear moms talking about that, and I'm like, your journey doesn't have to be like that. And, you know, obviously through chiropractic care, workouts, all of that's super helpful, but also, you know, the other ideas of like, you're like, okay, it's past the point of just like doing some workouts at home. Maybe you do need to go see a PT, and you guys are the perfect person to tell you that, because you can feel around in our bodies. Hopefully people are being honest and they answer you, but I just see so much that people are sometimes told that they need surgery to like tack up their bladder, and then you end up with mesh or these foreign things in your body, where if you could have been proactive with different types of care that are non-invasive, it'd be a lot easier journey, and it will save you money in the long run.